what we said last week was I said I'd give you a challenge, and I said just go ahead for a week, just start clearly watching the words that fall out of your mouth and watch your behaviors and your actions and see if you could really see any holes in your motivation or false motivation. And I think that that's the start of this thing, is that we begin to look at our own motivation for the things we say and the things we do, and we really begin to look at what motivates us. And I think that if we really start looking into what motivates you, what you'll see for the most part, and what I saw for the most part, is that what motivated me, basically my life was just this cover-up, and what motivated me was just to look good. And the other thing that motivated me was to not be dominated. I didn't want to be dominated, and I wanted to dominate, which means I didn't want the short end of the stick, and I didn't want the score being run up, and you can't take from me more than I can give to you, and you can't tell me I'm wrong. And I used to get in lots of fights about being wrong, about being right. And I wanted to dominate people with my rightness. I wanted to make sure they knew I was smarter than them. And when I started looking into my motivation, that was definitely true. Most of my life was a cover-up for the fact that I didn't know if I was better than people, and I wanted to make sure I was. And so most of my motivation, although I hid it very well, most of my motivation was to dominate you in some way. You know, the silent treatment, that used to be something I used on people when they didn't get my way, and I tried to dominate them. And I had all these passive-aggressive, and I had what I call it now is I had all these ways to use, offensive pass interference. I want you guys to look. What it means to do offensive pass interference is that you're a wide receiver and you're not willing to run a good route. And you don't have the speed, you don't have the skills to create separation, so instead you use a push-off. And I think that a lot of people, they want to be better than other people, and they don't know that they're using offensive pass interference, like criticism, or like belittling, or like sarcasm, or like jokes. And it's really offensive pass interference that I used to use to try to clear space to let somebody know that I was better than them. And I had all these ways to do that. And most of my motivation was really centered around the fact that I wanted people to know I was smarter than them, or better than them, or more right than they are. See, there was a goal with drug use, and it's going to be the same goal that I'm going to tell you now. There was a restless and irritable and a discontent about me. I couldn't sit still. That was just true. I couldn't sit still, and I didn't have any calmness inside. And I sought that out. And so I didn't understand this word, and I didn't know what this word meant, and all this work has been done, and just only recently I started looking into this word, and the word is called equanimity, and it says mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in difficult situations. That's what drugs did for me. It gave me, that's what I thought it was, really helping me achieve, was a mental calmness, composure, and an even temper, especially in difficult situations. So I used drugs to attain equanimity. I used drugs for that purpose, because I could sit still, because I was calm, because I could handle things, because I could accept anything if you gave me drugs. And so when I got sober, I didn't really know what the goal was, because nobody had explained it to me. Nobody had explained what it is that I was really seeking. Nobody explained that what you're really just seeking, Art, is calmness, even-temperedness, a relaxing of this insecure, traumatized energy that I was. And it's really weird to say that we're traumatized, because a lot of people might sit in this room and go, I don't know, I didn't get traumatized. I didn't have bad parents, or I didn't have this, that. Yeah, you know what the traumatized comes from? This fact that we spend our life trying to look good always. So the trauma is that our energy never feels like it's appropriate, or our energy never feels like it's good enough. So the trauma comes in this constant seeking of even and calmness, and this idea or this illusion that we live under, that when we get something done, or we fix something, or we buy something, or we get something next, that we're going to attain this state of equanimity. We think that the house is going to give us this state. We think that our car is going to give us this state. We think that if we get a new girlfriend, we're going to attain that state. So this illusion that once we get this, we're going to be in equanimity, we're going to live that way, and it just never comes. That's traumatizing. So I didn't know that, from the start of my life, nobody gave me the goal. Nobody said when I was 4 years old, you know what the best thing that you can be, Art? Is you could live in equanimity or have equanimity. Nobody ever said that to me. They didn't say to have mental calmness throughout your life and to handle life. Really learn to be a pilot of your own life. We're sitting here and we're all really wondering, how do we pilot our life? How do we have it smooth and have it flow and just be at peace. How can we do that? But nobody tells us that's even the goal, so we don't have that as a goal. So we set all these goals that set us up, because it doesn't say, hey, pilot your life now and just attain this state of mental calmness and how to go about the business of that. Don't we want to be around people that are in a state of equanimity, that are in a state of mental calmness? We want that. In fact, we seek that. Except we're not willing to do the work to attain that state ourselves. And so we just want it from others. And that's what we're saying. Whenever we want other people to change, we're saying, you need to attain a state of mental calmness. But not me. I'm going to go about the business of yelling at you, and I'm going to dominate you, and I'm going to do whatever I do to try to get you to be calm. And I used to hear Gabor Mate or whoever it was talked about addiction coming from trauma, and I didn't buy it. I didn't understand it. But this state of constantly seeking is traumatic. This state of never being at peace inside your body is traumatic. This constant illusion that you're just going to get something that puts you at peace but never comes. An entire lifetime of trying to be put in a state of calmness by something out there and it never shows. That's trauma. And now to stop this process and to sit here and say, if I want to help my loved ones, I have to do it from a state of equanimity. I have to help them from this calm place. And if I'm a drug addict in this room, I want to be able to achieve this state without the use of drugs. And then I also want to be able to provide that state for my family members. So now it's no longer that. You know what's cool to me now and what I aspire to be is the guy right here. The guy that has a mental calmness, composure, and an evenness temper, especially in difficult situations. That's what I want to be today. And that's the only thing that is measured on my recovery. And this isn't the goal for a 4-year-old kid that's sitting in a 5-year-old kid that comes to kindergarten. He's not taught equanimity. He's not taught that. He's taught to get in the game. He's taught to start competing really early on. Oh, that's a pretty picture you painted, but not as good as Jimmy's, whatever they're doing. And imagine the trauma that starts coming from that. And all of a sudden, we just put these kids in the game, and it's not about sitting still. It's not about you're enough already. It's not about you got everything right there, easy, son. It's about be more, hurry up. And this is the traumatic state that we're putting people in. And then when they don't do it, you know what we do? We yell. And we say, do it faster and hurry up. And that's what our leaders have done all along. And we come from this dominance. And this is a tough pattern to break. So it only begins when you truly begin to live with gratitude for every experience that is granted to us. And each one of these, you can't have one without the other. You can't have the good or the bad. It says right here after that. The sentence, she accepted both the good and the bad with equanimity. I know you want the good. And I know we're so good at claiming the good. And we're so good at taking responsibility for our success. But we're so bad at being okay with the bad stuff. And we rationalize and justify ourselves and defend ourselves and cover up that we're running from that shit. Tell somebody they're not doing something right. Oh my God. Tell somebody that what they think might be wrong. Oh my God. We're not even willing to be humble enough to acknowledge that maybe what we think isn't right. Learning how to make a difference in the lives of our loved ones and hold them accountable with equanimity. Because we all know that yelling and punishment, we've tried all that. And that's why we're here, because we've tried all that shit. We've tried all the lecturing, we've tried all the yelling, we've tried all the punishment, and then we try battlefield. And the only way we're going to end up helping you is to see that there's a reason why you can't attain this state. And only when you make this your primary purpose do we have a chance. And no, this doesn't mean we lack something. This means we're opening up to new possibilities, that things aren't in the way of experiencing love. Believe me, when you experience love, you'll also be experiencing this state. and you have never experienced love outside of this state. Trust me, you haven't ever once experienced love outside of the state of equanimity. You've experienced frustration, domination, anger, guilt, resentment, but not love. The first thing you have to do is look. I think that for the most part, we're unwilling to look. We're unwilling to look at what frustration is. We're unwilling to look at what anger is. We're unwilling to look at what this inner resistance feels like inside of our bodies. We're unwilling to acknowledge that it's just our blood pressure rising. We're unwilling to look at these things that people that we've been avoiding for so many years and we don't want to happen to us. So we spend our life looking out for danger. We spend our life getting away from people that cause different feelings inside of us. And we run from situations and we try to just put ourselves in situations where it's just where people tell us and do and say all the things we want them to tell us and tell to us and do and say. So we surround ourselves with people that don't hit anything inside of us. And we run from situations that hit things inside of us. And the first way to start achieving equanimity is to walk towards these situations. You want to learn how to deal with fire, you have to walk towards it. And I think that becomes the primary purpose, is that everything in your life that has shown up like a complaint, every single thing that has showed up like a complaint, you now see as an opportunity. If it isn't true that that's your formula, you won't be able to achieve this state. The formula has to be having gratitude for everything that you used to run from. Anger, frustration, disappointment, jealousy, insecurity, fear, to just learn how to sit with these things. I think it's important that we see that it's a flip, that everything that showed up like a complaint, right now, look at anything that's causing you unhappiness, and I bet right there, look, there will be a complaint right there. Look over the landscape of your life. And the reason you are unhappy, anything that you will see that is you think is causing you unhappy, just go ahead and look. And it's showing up like a complaint for you. And the way to achieve equanimity is to turn those complaints into opportunities. And to walk towards those fires. So every relationship that shows up like a complaint, every boss that shows up like a complaint, every coworker that shows up like a complaint, that's your racket. That's where you're being right. That's where you're being superior. And that's the cause of your unhappiness, and you don't even know that you don't know that. Because you'd rather be right than be happy.